Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to 168 Hours, your weekly roundup of the top local stories. I am Abdullah Ahil, your host for the evening. Stay tuned. According to recent data released by the Ministry of Homeland Security, Labor and Technology, the number of migrant workers operating with valid work permits in the Maldives has reached 208,937 as the government accelerates regulatory efforts to address undocumented labor. Details of the state's enforcement strategy under Operation Kurangi, an initiative launched to resolve the persistent issue of undocumented migrant labor, were outlined by Ali Ihsan, the Homeland Security Minister, during the Addu Business Dialogue held in Addu City. Official figures provided by Minister Ihsan indicate that between the 12th of November 2023 and the 1st of May of this year, total submitted work permits declined from 295,678 to 232,884. Concurrently, a pre-2012 backlog of unverified permits fell from 86,741 to 19,904, while active permits rose from 208,937 to 212,980. Reflecting improved legal compliance, permits with valid visas and paid fees surged from 20% to 66%, while non-compliant permits dropped from 80% to 34%. In biometric registration, individuals submitting full 10 fingerprint records and photographs rose from 27,200 to 202,224, reducing the population lacking biometric documentation from 181,737 to 10,756. Though 6,716 additional individuals received entry authorization, officials identified 4,040 who have yet to complete initial fingerprint registration. Enforcement operations targeting unauthorized businesses and repatriation revealed that migrant workers with unexpired visas frequently work at unauthorized locations or outside their approved designations, immigration authorities stated. The population operating illegally under an open visa to run private enterprises or secure alternative employment away from designated employers is steadily increasing, officials emphasized, advising the public, employers, and expatriates to adhere to the law. The Bank of Maldives, or BML, says it sold an average of $74 million per month to customers for various needs during the first 4 months of this year. According to the bank, this represents an increase of $27 million per month compared to the average monthly amount sold during the same period last year. BML recently introduced several changes to the way it provides US dollars to customers. Speaking on PSM News Rajamyu the program, BML CEO and Managing Director Mohammad Sharif said the bank is managing its dollar inflows in a way that ensures essential needs can continue to be met. He added that claims suggesting the bank is facing a shortage of dollar liquidity are not true. Sharif explained that the proportion of dollars customers are able to purchase and the bank's actual dollar liquidity are two completely different matters. He noted that BML holds more than half of all deposits in the Maldivian banking sector. Likewise, the bank has also issued the largest share of loans in the country. In 2025, the bank facilitated the inflow of $3.7 billion to the Maldives, which he said equates to around $10 million per day. During the same year, the bank also facilitated $3.3 billion in outward transfers from the country. BML's head of brand and marketing strategy, Mohammad Saeed, also shared details on how the bank is releasing dollars to customers. He said the amount of dollars provided by BML for various customer needs increased during the first 4 months of this year. BML currently provides customers with a $1,000 allowance for overseas Maldives point-of-sale transactions using Maldivian rupiah debit cards. In addition, customers in the Maldives can access up to 3,000 US dollars through rupiah debit cards for purchases such as airline tickets, medical expenses, and accommodation bookings. Since late 2024, the bank has also been providing a monthly limit of 1,200 US dollars to students studying abroad through dedicated student cards. Following the bank's latest policy changes, students under the age of 18 studying overseas while using a guardian's card will now also be issued student cards with a 1,200 US dollar limit. The local government authority reports that the swearing in of newly elected local council members and the signing of official declarations by representatives of the women's development committees have commenced.
While the majority of these events were conducted, the authority noted that specific cities and islands scheduled proceedings at varying times throughout Sunday. The coordinated effort overseen by the local government authority began at 9 a.m. with simultaneous ceremonies across various islands. Judges and magistrates administered the oaths for representatives entering the fifth legislative term of local councils. Following this procedure, members of the nation's 5 city councils will take their oath, while corresponding Women's Development Committee members sign their official declaration. According to the local government authority, 677 of the required 678 councillors were successfully elected prior to the inauguration, and 676 formally took their oaths. Administrative arrangements for the remaining official will be finalized later. Concurrently, 673 members were elected to the Women's Development Committees, which also required 678 representatives, with 662 formally inaugurated. Once officials take their oaths and sign declarations, local council will convene to elect deputy mayors and council vice presidents, launching the 5-year legislative term. Women's Development Committee members will similarly elect their vice presidents. The authority highlighted that these bodies, operating under the Decentralization Act since the inaugural ceremonies of 26 February 2011, are legally mandated to fortify decentralized governance.
According to the April Economic Update report released by the Maldives Monetary Authority, lending to the private sector by commercial banks has expanded over the course of this year, driven by credit growth across industries that play a vital role in the broader economy.
The growth rate for credits and loans extended to the private sector stood at 13% in February, before accelerating to 14% in March, the authority's report indicates. Credit distributed to the core sectors of the economy, including tourism, construction, personal borrowing, commerce, and real estate, experienced a broad upward trajectory in March. The financial report details the most substantial expansion during this period was observed in the volume of capital directed towards the tourism sector. Credit allocated to that specific industry grew by 12% in March, allowing the tourism sector to maintain its position as the holder of the largest overall share of total credit issued by the nation's banking institutions. The central bank's finding shows loans dispersed to the tourism industry accounted for 34% of all lending during this time frame. The report also indicates the primary catalyst for this elevated credit allocation within the tourism sector is a surge in financing issued for the development of new resort properties, alongside loans provided for the renovation of existing resorts and guest houses. The bank has similarly disclosed a significant portion of Bank of Mauritius' lending portfolio is dominated by financing directed towards the tourism industry. The bank noted within this specific sectoral lending, the volume of loans issued in US dollars remains notably high.
Ali Ihsan, the Minister of Homeland Security, Labor and Technology, announces that the National AI and Data Competency Center, or Maldives AI Lab, serves as an open invitation for private businesses to collaborate and share technical capacity.
The center is a critical component of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's Maldives 2.0 vision for national digitalization, underscoring a commitment to developing state capacity for economic transformation. The Maldives must transcend being a mere consumer of technology to become a nation capable of providing services that prioritize national interest, Minister Ihsan said, noting that the government is actively drafting legislation to build secure digital infrastructure rather than operating as a nominal center for specific technology products. The lab will refine institutional decision making and strengthen public services. The state will provide governance frameworks and public accountability, Minister Ihsan continued, while industries will supply engineering capacity and operational speed. Systematically introducing artificial intelligence solutions required by government agencies is the primary mandate of the center, which aims to cultivate local specialists rather than relying on foreign experts. Mohammad Sharif, the chief executive officer and managing director of the Bank of Maldives, announced at the inauguration of CoLab 26, a joint venture with MindCo, held as part of the ceremony, that the objective is to harness innovation for national development. Sharif described technology as a vital force for economic inclusion. He stated that the center is designed to facilitate learning and experimentation to help the nation familiarize itself with emerging technologies. In the approaching days, industry experts will deliver insight on transformations across critical sectors, while activities like the CoLab 26 hackathon will provide a platform for practical solutions to national challenges.
The Maldives National University's Faculty of Arts and the Indian High Commission jointly convenes a seminar to mark the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Maldives and India.
The gathering drew senior leadership from the university, Indian High Commissioner to the Maldives G. Balasubramaniam, high-ranking officials from the High Commission, and students currently enrolled at the institution. Presentations delivered during the proceedings systematically analyzed the historic relationship that has flourished between the Maldives and India over the past 6 decades. Seeking to foster a cohesive narrative rather than a fragmented overview, presenters explored a wide array of bilateral engagements, specifically addressing the impact of climate change, the pursuit of sustainable development, shared historical and cultural ties, and ongoing cooperative efforts within the healthcare sector. The sessions expanded into critical strategic areas, detailing substantive information regarding economic advancement and trade, educational and human resource development, international relations, and broader infrastructural growth. The historically close and enduring ties between the two nations were illuminated during a formal address by High Commissioner Balasubramaniam, who served as the guest of honor. Reaffirming the core purpose of the gathering, the event stood as a deliberate commemoration of the profound 60-year partnership that has defined the diplomatic corridor between the Maldives and India.
The Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy, Ali Sharif, states that costs of fuel importation to the Maldives have greatly risen due to the Middle East conflict.
The minister stated this while speaking at a press conference held at the President's office by the Ministry of Climate Change, Environment and Energy concerning work done in the energy sector. As the Maldives is highly dependent on fuel, the change in market price of fuel impacts the country both directly and indirectly. The Middle East conflict in particular has raised fuel prices exponentially. Minister Ali Sharif stated that the government spends a great amount on fuel importation annually. While the government subsidizes fuel, a substantial portion of the state budget has been allocated for importing fuel due to the Middle East conflict, the minister informed. The Director General of the Ministry of Climate Change, Environment and Energy, Ahmad Ali, stated that 8,000 barrels of diesel per day have been allocated to providing electricity to inhabited islands. This is about 2.9 million barrels a year. Ahmad Ali detailed that prior to the Middle East conflict, $50 million was spent on fuel importation monthly. However, this figure has now risen to $160 million, he stated. He also noted that in order to solve this problem, the focus should be on utilizing renewable energy generated in the Maldives rather than relying on imported diesel or fuel. The Director General also stated that the Maldives highly depends on fuel to produce energy. For instance, in 2025 alone, 647.29 million US dollars was spent on fuel importation, comprising of 10% of the GDP of the country. He noted that this amount could otherwise be allotted to social and economic development projects such as developing schools or hospitals. He added that the government aims to bring renewable energy usage to 33% by 2028. In addition to opting for renewable sources of energy, Ahmad Ali stated that energy wastage should be minimized to reduce reliance on imported fuel within the country.
The national carrier Maldivian Airlines welcomes its inaugural direct flight from Melbourne, Australia to Velana International Airport, or VIA, marking the first time in history that travelers can journey between the two destinations without connecting through a third country.
The arrival of the inaugural flight on the 19th May, carrying 240 tourists, was met with a celebratory atmosphere as traditional Maldivian drums echoed across the arrival hall as the island nation welcomed its guests from down under. The new route represents a significant expansion of the airline's international network and underscores the growing importance of the Australian market to the Maldives' tourism-dependent economy. The new service will operate on a weekly basis, with flights departing from Malé to Melbourne every Tuesday and returning to the Maldives on the same day the following week in an 11-hour journey. These operations are being conducted using Maldivian's wide-body aircraft, demonstrating the airline's commitment to providing comfort and reliability on long-haul routes. The decision to establish this direct connection came after extensive market research revealed that substantial demand for seamless travel options between the two countries, according to the Maldivian officials, who noted that advance bookings have exceeded expectations. The timing of this launch proves particularly significant given the current challenges facing global aviation. Minister of Tourism and Civil Aviation Mohammed Amin highlighted that the number of tourists arriving in the Maldives has declined amid disruptions to international transport systems caused by regional instability in the Middle East. Australia is currently the 10th largest tourist source market for the Maldives, with 18,066 Australian visitors recorded as of the 16th of May, according to official tourism data. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Irutisham Adam, echoed these sentiments, emphasizing that the new air link will strengthen diplomatic and trade relations between Maldives and Australia. The minister further noted that direct flights from Melbourne to Malé will greatly facilitate tourism flows in both directions while positioning the Maldives as a more accessible destination for the significant Australian outbound travel market. Industry projections indicate that the new route is expected to bring around 11,000 additional tourists to the Maldives annually, providing a welcome boost to the island nation's tourism and business sectors. The strong initial demand serves as a promising indicator of the route's potential success, with Maldivian reporting that flights are already 50% booked on average and the first 3 scheduled services completely sold out. The addition of the wide-bodied aircraft to the national carrier's fleet, combined with the strategic expansion into the Australian market, represents what Minister Amin described as a huge boost to the Maldivian economy during this period of global transportation uncertainty.
In a landmark development that promises to transform the fortunes of Maldivian fishermen, the United Kingdom agrees to cut tariffs on fish products exported from the Maldives, marking the culmination of more than a decade of diplomatic efforts and negotiations.
The UK's decision to cut tariffs on Maldivian fish exports marks a major breakthrough for the country's fishing industry after more than a decade of uncertainty. Since losing duty-free access in 2014 following the Maldives' graduation from least developed country status, fish exports to the U.S. face tariffs of up to 24%, weakening the competitiveness of one of the nation's most important industries. The UK is the Maldives' second-largest fish export market and the leading destination for high-value processed fish products made locally. Unlike markets that import raw fish for processing abroad, the UK buys packaged and value-added products prepared entirely in the Maldives, helping create jobs and retain more revenue within the country. Successive governments attempted to negotiate tariff relief, first through the European Union and later directly with the UK after Brexit, but progress remained slow. Meanwhile, fishermen face delayed payments, shrinking profits, and growing uncertainty. After taking office, President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu prioritized resolving the issue, personally engaging British officials during a visit to the UK last year. His meetings with senior leaders, the launch of the From Maldives Fisheries brand, and new trade cooperation initiatives helped strengthen bilateral economic ties. Now, after 12 years of negotiations, the UK has agreed to reduce tariffs on Maldivian fish products, restoring much-needed competitiveness in one of the world's most lucrative seafood markets. The move is expected to boost exports, support long-term investment, and provide greater stability for thousands of Maldivians who depend on the fishing industry for their livelihoods.
The bodies of the 2 remaining Italian tourists who went missing while diving in the Maldives are successfully recovered following an extensive recovery operation involving Maldivian authorities and international diving experts.
The recovery effort, which concluded on the 20th of May, marks the end of a multi-day search operation that mobilized significant resources from the Maldives National Defense Force, Coast Guard, the police service, and a team of experienced Finnish technical divers sent in by the Italian government. The 4 victims were located inside a cave system where they had been diving, according to government officials. Recovery operations proceeded in stages, with 2 bodies recovered the day before and the remaining 2 retrieved today. Identification of the recovered remains is currently underway, the chief government spokesperson Mohammed Hussein Sharif confirmed to PSM News. He added, authorities are now coordinating with the Italian government to facilitate the repatriation of the bodies to Italy. The spokesperson took the opportunity to express gratitude to all parties who contributed to the recovery mission. He additionally thanked the 2 local companies that provided voluntary assistance throughout the operation, as well as the MNDF and police personnel whose coordinated efforts made the successful outcome possible. The search operation was triggered when the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center received a report at 1:45 p.m. on the 14th of May regarding the disappearance of 5 Italian divers. The group, which included an Italian diving instructor and 4 tourist divers, had failed to resurface at their expected time. Upon receiving the information, the MNDF immediately launched comprehensive search operations by both sea and air. The first body recovered was identified as that of the diving instructor. The 3 Finnish divers who spearheaded the recovery effort brought considerable international experience to the mission, having previously participated in similar underwater recovery operations across various countries around the world.
Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammed Hussein Sharif says the United Kingdom's decision to suspend tariffs on Maldivian tuna exports reflects President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu's strong